Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Lock Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined always by Trevor, and we have a few things to talk about this week. There's some tournament news now that disc golf's actually started back up, which has been nice over the past month or so. Yeah. I don't know. And then just a few other things that talking points we want to get into, and I'm sure some of them will lead into rants that will lead to something else. So to start it off, we had the Lair Championship this past weekend. It was a B tier up in Montrose, Virginia, which is about 2.5-3 hours away from us. It was at the I'm gonna say infamous Lake Marshall.
Yeah, the course that we hear these things about and we've never played it.
Yeah, the course that everyone always tells us you've got to go play, but I mean, when are we gonna drive 3 hours to go play a course?
It's tough. It's a tough decision to make.
We will eventually get out there, but not sure exactly when it's going to happen. But there were some big names, especially Virginia-wise, some Virginia big names. But taking it down was Zach Melton, shooting 10.62 first round, 10.11 second round to go 15 under through 2 rounds. Second place was more Virginia local pro Matt Hammerston. He's 10.28 rated.
Yeah.
Which is a lot higher than I thought. Last time I played with him, he was like 10.10 rated. So he's gone up quite a bit. I don't know if his plans are to ever go on tour, but with a rating like that, that means his play has been consistently good enough that he probably could make it if he decided to.
I'd say, yeah.
And then we had a 3-way tie for third between some Virginia powerhouses, I'll call them, Sam Shiley, Jonathan Burns, and Charlie Bearhorst. All three shooting 11 down and averaging well over 1,000. So, I'm hoping there's coverage of this tournament. I actually didn't even look that up.
I'm not sure.
I love when there's coverage of Lake Marshall because I love watching it, but it just makes me want to play it more and more. On the women's side, we had 2 players out there, and taking it down was Lily Marr, averaging, it looks like, about 8.45 rated.
Solid.
8.45 rated golf. So I just wanted to kind of go through that results really fast before we get into what was a little closer to home. This weekend, which was the Battle for Bedford. Blue Chip Technology sponsored the event. Blue Chip Technologies presents the Battle for Bedford, hosted by Bedford County Parks and Rec. We had to fit a lot in that title.
Yeah, it was quite a mouthful.
And you'll notice we were not in that title, Foundation Disc Golf, but we were putting on the event.
We sponsored a deck.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even us technically, it was our fans.
Yeah, it was the Foundation Nation. But yeah, we ran the event. It was by far the most added cash at an event I've ever ran. It was awesome. We had 140 players come out to it, which was insane. I think it's got to be one of the best turnouts to a tournament in this area, which just speaks to kind of the growth of disc golf around here. And that did help that we had the likes of Paul Macbeth, Barry Schultz, Lance Brown, Schwebby, Brodie Smith out at the tournament. Jeff Corns, can't forget Corns.
Yeah.
We had some very good players, the best in the world being Paul, and some other world title holders out there at the event. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. So before we get into the results and stuff, I just want to thank everyone who came and everyone who had any part in the tournament itself, especially Blue Chip Technologies. Yeah. Rob Stark was a huge supporter of the event, went above and beyond to make sure we had everything we needed, from players packs to added cash to literally anything we could dream of. He was super supportive and just wanted to grow disc golf in Virginia. And so I'm looking forward to being able to partner with him going forward. But even just with this event, it was an amazing turnout. So
yeah, I mean, the event definitely ran really smoothly, and I think that's a big part of that is to our volunteers, the players, the spectators. Everybody cooperated, and that we can only do so much, just Hunter and I running around, So big thanks to everybody who took part in that.
Yeah, so let's get through the results really fast, and then I think there's a few talking points at this tournament, at least on the running side, and trying to do coverage of it kind of brought up to our attention. Mm-hmm. But I'll run through the results really fast since I haven't pulled up. I know you don't have them pulled up right now, but taking it down was Paul Macbeth shooting an 11 under. He went 10.38 first round, 10.57 second round. This course is no joke, so actually you'll probably see it because So second place we had Barry Schultz, who came in second with a 5 down, lost to Paul by 6, averaging about 10.25 rated golf. And then third place, there was a 2-way tie at 1 over par between Philip Bartholomew, who's a 10-10 rated player, and Justin Rozak, a 980 rated player. So quality players. But that just shows how tough this course was. There's only 2 players under par in the entire field.
Yeah, I mean, we had, in the weeks leading up to this event, we had watched Paul and Brodie go out to practice quite a few times, and we had played it a few times.
Yeah.
And whenever you see Paul like struggling to shoot under par, you know, that's a legit course.
Yeah.
So,
and especially first off, Paul designed these long tees.
mm-hmm.
And so I think it's one thing if players are shooting over par because of artificial OB and gimmicky stuff, but this is, I mean, there was OB, yes,
yeah,
but the OB was natural OB per se.
Yeah.
Like a fence line.
the fairways are relatively true. There's a few holes where you have to get a little bit of luck, but like almost every hole, if you hit the line, your result is going to be good. Because, yeah, there's a lot of trouble left and right, but the fairways are clean.
Yeah, the course is just tough.
Yeah,
like,
it's very difficult.
That's what I was trying to get across is like it's not like people were blowing up because of OB. There's a few where you're throwing in a pond or you're throwing across a creek, and I think there's 2 island greens for the pros. So there was a few potential blow-up holes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, as you'll see in the coverage that's coming out soon, depending on when you watch it, it might already be out. It's basically like just the way the course is laid out, the distance in the woods and the shots it calls for make it a very hard course.
Yeah, I mean, you got to throw distance shots through 5-foot gaps off the tee, basically. So
It's like a IDGC. It's kind of what it reminded me of gaps wise.
Yeah, you got to hit that first gap or you're making a bogey, basically.
Yeah, it's fair because like and the AMT kind of takes that away. So the AMTs were fun. Actually, if we look at advanced,
they were under par, weren't they?
No. So the advanced winner was Hunter Dawson. Huge shout out to him. He had a great tournament. But he shot 2 over. That's why
they played mixed
longs second round. So there's actually only 2 people under par for the whole tournament. Nope, 3. Ken Taberski. Yeah. He shot 6 down playing the mixed long
shout
layout.
out to Ken Taberski. He shredded.
Yeah, he went 10-23, 10-16. They played the same mixed long layout that the women played. And on the FPO side, we had Elaine King taking it down by 1 stroke over Hannah Macbeth. This was
a late drama.
Yeah, Hannah was down 3 strokes with 3 holes to play.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 3 holes on this course, there's 1 very tough par 4 and then 2 water holes.
Yeah.
And the water carry on the first hole is very tough. On hole 17, the water carry from the AMT, it's a pretty tough shot. It's not distance-wise, it's not from the AMT, but it's a straight shot. You got to hit an initial gap and then have a disc slowly move to the right pretty much. Second tee is pretty wide open.
Sure.
So, but Hannah was able to pick up 2 strokes on the par 4, which that was great. I wasn't out there watching it. I think you were filming at this point, so we didn't get to actually witness it. But I was looking at the live score. But Hannah was able to pick up 2 strokes on the par 4, which isn't super shocking because if you get off the fairway, it's going to be hard to get back.
Oh yeah, very tough hole.
But then she was able to pick up another stroke, I believe, on 17, something like that. And then hole 18, they went into tied. I know that is a fact.
Yeah.
The other 2, she picked up strokes somewhere in there. Hole 18, they went into tied, and Elaine King was able to birdie it, and Hannah parred out to lose by 1. But great play from both of them. And then coming in third place, we had Natalie Ryan, who was 3 strokes behind Hannah. So 22 over, 23 over, and 26 over. And Elaine King looks to have won, averaging about 9.15.
Yeah.
So
it's competitive golf all around.
Yeah, for sure. And this was actually our first time taking on coverage of a tournament round.
Yes.
Which, you have spoken to this in the past, but the past when you've spoken to it, it's been just from like a perspective or from a fan's point of view. Mm-hmm. Not as much from like a tournament director for me and like filmer for you's point of view, but you've spoken to in the past, and we already got some hate for it, as I'm sure we're about to get a little bit more, that woods golf just can't be really the future of disc golf.
Yeah, it's a disappointing reality because whenever we're playing in the woods, it's so much easier to make courses difficult without getting too gimmicky and just roping everything off. But this is my first time like actually going out there and trying to cover and like also keep spectators in line, which I had volunteers luckily to help me do that. But we had 2 cameras and a crowd of a maximum of 50 people, and it's a legitimate challenge in the woods, especially when you're in the tight woods like we were. Filming, I mean, you'll notice a lot in the coverage. It's a good thing we had a catch cam because off the tee, you can't get wide views a lot of times. You know, you can see the initial release, but a lot of times those gaps are so tight, especially if a player moves in front of the path of the disc. There's just no way to catch it with all the trees around. So when you're talking about from like a commercial standpoint, as far as like what, you know, our goal of like live broadcasted disc golf on TV, like it's just, unless they figure out a way to put cameras in trees,
get some tree stands.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a way with like an extreme budget that it can happen, but it's just not convenient.
Well, I think the tough part too is like when a disc is a lot less predictable in the woods.
Well, yeah.
In the open, when a disc comes out of a player's hand,
You kind of know where it's going.
Exactly. You kind of know, oh, this is on a little bit Annie. It's going to turn and it's fighting out. So that's easy to film. But when it's in the woods, if it gets pulled right and it gets behind a tree, you have no idea when that sucker's just going to randomly kick back out of the woods.
When I got Lance Brown lining up an overhand, I'm just like staying wide in the film, and then like I hope I catch this. It's difficult, and it, you know, like I said, it's disappointing because, you know, woods golf is very fun. It's very exciting to watch, because, you know, for instance, the first round, Paul, you know, he shot under par and he was in the lead, but he struggled a lot that round. You know, he was not having a good time. And I think woods golf does that to somebody because you can miss lines by just inches and get just punished brutally.
It's almost better in the woods to miss by like feet than inches.
Oh yeah, because inches gives you a hard kick. Foot, you might just knock straight down or you might get lucky. But it's just gonna mean that there's a challenge for course designers to make open courses, you know, that are wide open grassy fields, you know, interesting.
Yeah.
Without just overusing the same old things.
Yeah, because I mean the kind of other side is if we took woods golf and we made the fairways a lot wider, right, to where you could cover it easier. You could, because I mean at Worlds like Northwoods, I mean there was hundreds of spectators, and there were some holes that were not great for spectating. Like they would tell them like, hey, do not be behind the tee. You're not gonna be able to see anything. You need to go up here. You need to go over here. Whatever it may be. And I think there was one or two holes that like if you weren't one of the first like 50, 60 spectators, you weren't going to see the hole. Yeah. But with that being said, the like probably 80 to 90% of the course, which is the majority of it's wooded, was pleasurable to watch, and coverage wise, you weren't really missing much. Like you could see the disc the majority of the flight and stuff like that. Now, granted, it was Jomez who's the best of the best covering it, so that could be slightly different, but I mean, still, I think that not open wooded courses, but wooded courses that have like really wide fairways, in my opinion, could be the future of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely happen. I'd definitely rather see a guy miss a wide fairway and have to scramble by hitting a narrow gap through trees than just miss a fairway, land beyond a flagged area, and then re-tee or take it from where it went out. You know, it gives a chance for players to be a lot more creative because, you know, these open courses, we lose the chance to see guys throw, you know, a cut roller. Like I got to see that. I got to see like Paul, you'll see, you know, at one point there was a really cool cut roller to save. You know, I saw Lance and Barry throw really cool, you know, putter shots to get out of trouble in the woods. It's a lot more creative when you're in the woods because you have to make the disc do things you wouldn't normally do. Sometimes you get out in the open and it's like, okay, I went out of bounds, but, you know, now I just take it from here and throw another big hyzer. Yeah.
I think to me, that's part of the, like, intrigue of disc golf is woods golf.
Oh, yeah, like, for sure.
And that's also one of the great things about disc golf is, like, if you have 20 acres of woods, what the heck are you going to do with it? Mm-hmm. Especially without cutting down a lot of trees. You can put in a disc golf course easy. Yeah. So that's obviously not on the future of the sport side because woods golf will always exist. I think that's one thing that, you know, when we talk about some of these topics that we've talked about in the past that people like forget is we're talking about the pro level.
Yeah, we're talking about like not even just the pro level, but like the tour, like whatever is going to be our highest standard of production quality. Yeah. And that's all we're concerned about.
Some of that will trickle down.
Yeah.
So like if small baskets became a standard in the future, for instance, because we talked about that, and if small baskets became the standard on tour, then players who are coming into the sport might be confused by big baskets on courses, and there might be some courses that start to put smaller baskets. Yes, I understand that. But when it comes to like woods golf, like I think woods golf, I don't know where I stand on woods golf being the future or not, but regardless, woods golf will always exist in the sport.
Sure. Yeah.
But I can understand where from some aspects, it's less marketable. It might be harder to coverage, especially with our current technology that disc golf has. Because your phone coverage is basically what we're streaming off of.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than that, but to a certain degree, it's not. That's obviously going to be worse in the woods.
Yeah.
But, so maybe as our technology and budget advances, some of the woods golf problems can be solved. I hope so. But to me, I think that courses like W.R. Jackson, like Northwoods, like, trying to think of the other wood. I can picture it in my head, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Vermont.
Yeah.
Smuggler's Notch. Some of those courses where, yes, they're in the woods, but it's not like North Carolina or Virginia woods golf where we're talking about like you're hitting small gaps and you're trying to throw 400 feet. Vin Horse has a few small gaps, but as far as fairways go, they're relatively wide. But at the same time, courses like that, I agree, are not the future. But I don't want to rule out woods golf as total.
Yeah,
it's not being the future.
It's just gonna have to be a bit more particular, and I'll be interested to see, if the Pro Tour decides to kind of filter them out as they move forward of their schedule, or if they, try and keep it as a part of the game, because it really is going to be up to them.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, at the end of the day, pretty much the future of the sport's in the Pro Tour's hands. What they're doing, what they're not going to do, that's going to change pretty much everything. But yeah, I would hate so much to see woods golf disappear.
I agree.
And so hopefully that's not the case. But I do like the idea of open golf because there's no limit on spectators. Yeah. Really. Like, it's however many people you can fit in a field. But at the same time, there's got to be something that you can create. There's got to be something where players are still scrambling. Because I think that's the key for disc golf and keeping disc golf interesting is the scrambling part. Because even in ball golf, which is mainly wide open, you're still going to have Tiger in the rough. You're still going to have Tiger having to hit weird shots in between trees on the side of the fairway.
Yeah.
So if we can figure out what is disc golf's rough, because right now the best rough disc golf has is trees.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what can we do in the open that provides us with that same type of scramble feel, the same mentality of a player's like, oh, I'm in the rough, what do I do? That the trees provide us, that woods golf provides us. What can we do in the open to keep the disc golf excitement? Because if that is the future of the sport, if we do have to go to mainly open courses, disc golf could get very boring very fast.
Yeah, I agree. Because, for like a new spectator, like somebody who's new to watching disc golf, like seeing a disc fly through the woods can be way cooler. And I'd like, in ball golf, the advantage they have is like, if all you have to do is leave the grass a little bit longer and all of a sudden it becomes a hard shot.
Easy, yeah.
Disc golf, we've talked about things like the sand trap, like having to stand in that, or, maybe you're off the fairway and you have to do a standstill, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's tricky, and artificial stuff is, in my opinion, is very touchy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen like the mozzarella sticks that you use DGC.
What are we doing?
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, who might be newer, they're basically wooden poles that are like next to the basket on certain holes at Winthrop.
Like really close
Very close to the basket to where you might not have a putt if you're on a certain side. And the idea is they're trying to give the hole some more defense and make you throw different shots, but they look hideous, in my opinion. They look out of place, more importantly. Because you could probably throw those on certain like wooded courses.
And you would never notice.
And it would at least like look a little bit themed, but they're way out of place.
Yeah.
So... And like, I don't have a problem with elevated baskets as long as they're like tasteful and not hanging or like 50 feet in the air. Like,
I don't mind elevated baskets if that's the only danger on the hole.
Yeah.
Like if you're putting an elevated basket right next to the water, stop. Think about what are you doing. But if it's just a wide open hyzer and you're like, well, I want to add something to it, then I have no problem with the elevated basket.
I do think like, and water hazards are probably, the best kind of obstacle we have for an open course. But obviously, you can't always just have water hazards. You can't always just build a course around a lake. So I'll be curious to see like what they figure out.
Yeah, because I think part of the issue because I like the sand trap. I like the hazard and standstill. I like that idea when it comes to like the difficulty of disc golf.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the viewing pleasure, that doesn't add the same amount as woods.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, it adds as far as, oh, he just landed in a sand trap. Like, ooh, that initial moment.
Yeah.
But then the throw out of it doesn't add the same as, oh, he kicked off the fairway. Let's see if Paul can throw something miraculous. Let's see if Schwebe can throw this sick thumber through the woods, or, Eric Oakley throw a felon roller that gets him next to the basket. Like, that element disappears in the Open.
Yeah.
And I think that is what makes disc golf so exciting currently. And I don't think there's a way to do it in the Open. I don't think that exists, because what makes the scrambling so fun and so entertaining to watch is simply the amount of trees that players are having to kind of get through to get to the basket.
Yeah.
So just making disc golf harder in the Open doesn't really solve the whole issue.
It's an interesting dilemma for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think it was something that we probably should have talked about when we brought up the sand traps and stuff, but I didn't really think through it until I started thinking through why I like woods golf. Because woods golf's even more fun to play, because there's
I agree.
There's something just satisfying about you
it's
kick
fun
off
to
the
play.
fairway and you're like, you throw this sick forehand Annie that pans to the basket.
Yeah, it's fun to play, but it can be frustrating.
Oh, well, it's fun to play when you're playing well.
Yeah,
when you're
not playing well.
When you're not playing well, it's a lot more fun to play in the Open.
Yeah,
because then at least if you mess up by 5 to 10 feet,
you're fine.
Yeah, you're not nailing a tree and going, who knows where into Timbuktu. You're just landing 5 to 10 feet off the fairway.
Yeah,
and you just have a little pitch up. But I think disc golf definitely has some questions that have to be answered as we move forward. And what those answers are kind of just up to the Pro Tour. I mean, we all have different opinions.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our opinions. The comments have their opinions. Reddit has its opinions. But none of it matters without Jeff Spring's opinion.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the Pro Tour kind of controls, decisions right now, because that's where we're all looking right now for our highest quality of disc golf. As long as they're that governing body that we're looking for that, they can kind of do as they please.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting. And I think it's just the spectators is going to be a big part in it, because when you're looking at courses, it's more and more, which, I mean, right now it's not, obviously, because of all the COVID guidelines and changes. Like, even us, we had to limit our spectators because we could only have so many people on the property, and we're a phase 3. Yeah. There's still, I think, Michigan might still be a phase 1 event. D-Glow?
Not 100% certain.
It's either phase 1 or phase 2, but right now you can kind of do a lot more crowd control than you can in the future. And I think the future of disc golf will also contain as a spectator, it's not going to be free anymore.
Yeah.
That it's already starting to go out the window, because like Ledgestone, if you want decent parking, you got to pay. I think USDGC, you have to pay for like day passes and so on and so forth. That's going to become more normal.
People are going to get really offended as disc golf grows that things are going to start costing money, because I think that's, was a big kind of lure of disc golf, is that like everything seems to be free. But at the same time, you have to understand the greater good sometimes, and like disc golf needs ways to bring money into the sport. Money, we need it right now.
Yeah.
We need to be able to have more full-time athletes so that the competition gets better, so that the sport becomes more interesting, and it all kind of trickles together into this sport growing. Spectators being charged, things like that, it's got to be gradually introduced, but it needs to happen.
Yeah.
You can't just expect money to come from nowhere.
Yeah, and I think the money thing too, something people will realize is like disc golf will always be cheaper than 90% of other sports.
Yeah.
Because, the difference between like disc golf and ball golf, when it really comes down to it, is this is not really your club.
No.
It's your ball.
Yeah.
And so therefore, you're going to lose it, and you're going to have to keep replacing it. So whereas in ball golf, I can go buy a $500 driver, and I can just keep hitting that thing, and I'm not going to get rid of it until I want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
That buzz, I don't have any control over when I lose that thing. It's going to take one more hero shot over the water, and she's gone forever.
Yeah.
And so that's where the profit margin in disc golf, manufacturers is going to be a lot different than in ball golf. So that's why our costs are pretty much always going to be lower for the most part, because to maintain courses is going to be lower, stuff like that. But there will be charges, and I think charging spectators, yes, it's going to help limit it some when we're playing like tight wooded courses. But at the end of the day, as disc golf grows, the spectator amount's going to grow. And eventually we're going to get to the point where some of our favorite courses to watch on tour aren't going to work anymore because they're too tightly wooded, and it's not going to be possible for 5,000 spectators to be out there trying to watch whoever's the top player at that time play.
Yeah.
That's just not going to be realistic anymore. And if the answer is open golf, then we've got to get creative to make disc golf not boring.
Yeah.
Very, very creative.
It's going to take some great minds.
It's going to take, a lot of thinking and probably a lot of trial and error. So it's definitely going to be interesting. But talking about, some of the bigger tournaments, we do have D-Glow coming up, as we just mentioned. And, there's several storylines from D-Glow. The most, obvious one that we have to go with first is, will Paul even have a chance at recreating his 18 under?
Yeah. I mean, the 18 under rounds are very interesting to me. I don't even still understand how they happened because I don't we've seen Paul get into like that automatic mode where he throws like so many good shots consecutively. It seems like he's never going to miss again.
Yeah.
And I do also think it's an open enough course that, like we were saying kind of earlier, you can miss your line by a few feet and be okay. And if your putt's on, then you can really, do well because you just have to get yourself within 60 feet of the basket. Do I think he's going to shoot 18 under again? No. It's a short answer. I really don't think he's going to. He played all right this weekend, but he definitely wasn't completely on top of his game. So he's definitely going to have to, elevate a bit, at least in the first couple rounds, if he's going to get to the point where he's going to have a shot at it. I know he'll try for it.
Yeah.
So
he always will try for it.
But 18 under, I don't know. And he'll probably prove me wrong, but
I don't think so. So it's been basically right at 2 years since he shot it. Trying to pull up last year's really fast. I think last year his best round was a 51. Let me see. Yeah, verify that. Yeah, 51, which was 11 down. What I think is crazy about the 18 under, and why I think it's still something that gets brought up pretty much every time we come to D-Glow, is it wasn't like his 18 under at Waco, where the par was soft.
No,
it wasn't like a 18 under at Peaksview Park, where the course is short. It was like a pretty legitimate 18 under of like the next hottest rounds were like 52, 53, and he shot a 45. Yeah. Like you're beating the entire field, and you're beating a 52 was 1050 rated, and he shot a 45 at 1108 rated, which is just, I think we looked at a while ago on the podcast some of the statistics, and you're literally more likely to be like struck by lightning. You're more likely to be like all kinds of stuff than Paul to shoot 18 under again. But I saw the post on Facebook that someone, it might even been Discraft or Disc Golf Pro Tour, put out of like, will Paul do it again? And I'm like, I just look at it and I'm like, heck no. Like, we will. It's one of those things that I don't think in my lifetime we'll probably ever see a round of disc golf that was like that good. Ratings wise, we will.
Yeah.
Because, even his 17 under at Memorial was technically higher rated.
Yeah.
Explain that to me. If that doesn't show you how screwed up our rating system is, then nothing will.
Yeah.
How is that rated 1132?
As if the toboggan course isn't much harder.
Yeah. How is a 17 under at Memorial 1132 and a freaking 18 under at D-Glow 1108?
Doesn't add up.
Literally all it is the OB on the course.
Yeah.
And it's just because more people blew up at Memorial. But ratings, we'll have to do a different episode on ratings because I almost just went into the tangent.
I could see it in his eyes.
And not even like why I don't. We talked about it last week of ratings, should they exist for the pro level. I'm not talking about that rant. I'm talking about the rant of what the heck is our rating system and why do we still use it?
Yeah.
That's that rant. Because, it's not the best thing in the world.
My whole thing with the whole 18 under round too is like, do we want another 18 under round, or is our narrative now that like we want guys to be shooting not like 18? My thing is like, it's almost like I want him to either shoot 18 under or like don't even be near it so we can have some competitive golf. Like, I don't know. I'm such a hypocrite for that, but like I don't want people to shoot like super low rounds. Because like I mentioned that last time, like at the Preserve, like I didn't like that people were shooting so well.
Well, I think
but the 18 under gets us on SportsCenter. Yeah. That's the problem.
Well, I think the difference is it's the difficulty of the rounds. Because at the end of the day,
that's true.
Par means nothing.
Yeah.
I could go out and I could make a 20,000 foot course and have them all par twos.
Yeah.
Because I just decided.
It's a number at the end of the day.
Yeah. But it's how you get to that number that's impressive. So that's why the preserve we had talked about all being close in soft par, whatever you want to call it. That was just the difficulty of the course. Whereas at 18 under at D-Glow, or a course like D-Glow, is impressive simply because of the round that was played, not necessarily the score that was put up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand what you're saying because I would love to see an 18 under. But at the same time, like I think as long as the average of the field, if we're like trying to look at disc golf par and the difficulty of a course, as long as the average of the field is closer to that like 6 under mark or something. Yeah. If Paul or Ricky or Calvin or Simon or whoever pops off a 17 under, then they're just beating the field by that much. So that's exciting no matter what it is.
It is true. Like, I mean, like even though Paul shot 18 under that time or, both times really, like he had to throw like all really good shots. It's not like the course is easy. Toboggan's a difficult course. There was just a vlog that went up today of Eagle and Simon like playing their first ever rounds at that course.
Yeah.
And like just like going on and on about how ridiculously hard it was and like the elevation. I'm like, it just makes it that much more crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
because I think that's just like I 100% stand by the fact that is by far the greatest round of all time.
Oh yeah.
And I think even Paul would tell you that. And the fact that it's not regarded as that just because 4 numbers next to it is very dumb to me. Yeah. But it won't happen again, and I don't think any player will shoot close to it. Including Paul in this field, I don't think anyone will shoot close. I would imagine hot for this weekend is like 12 to 13 under.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's supposed to be some weather too. So,
I haven't looked at the weather.
Yeah, I think there might be rain this weekend. So
one other talking point that I just thought of is the feature card for D-Glow.
People are gonna be nice and salty about that.
Well, I want to talk through this because I feel like we might not agree here. So we had Paul, Calvin, Ricky, and then Brodie Smith.
Yes.
So, you have Paul, who I don't remember exactly the formula for how the Pro Tour decides their feature card, but it's basically like a fan vote, a sponsor vote, and then is it like the past 2 champions? Maybe it's like, I don't remember exactly what it is, but the performance at previous tournaments come into play, a fan vote comes into play, and then a sponsor vote. Mm-hmm. Looking at the card, I would assume that Brodie was the sponsor vote. Because
could have been the fan vote.
They could have been. I actually didn't see the fan vote go up.
It's got a lot of fans.
But I just know, I think Paul was on it because of, maybe it's the top. I wish I would have looked this up beforehand. There's something with the performance at the last event.
Yeah.
I think that's where Paul got onto it. And then Calvin and Ricky are just from their performances recently. And then one of them was probably the fan vote. And then I would imagine that Brodie would be the sponsor or fan vote. Either way, let's say he was a sponsor vote. Do you think that the round 1, the first round he was on feature card, I was all for it because of all the eyes it was drawing to disc golf.
Yeah.
And I think that was, and then they let him post it to his YouTube channel after, which was a great move by the Pro Tour and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The second round, like I'm trying to look at it from the marketing perspective, right? You already saw the backlash for round 1, but round 1 I think made sense to a lot of people. Round 2, what's the angle of putting Brodie back on it when he's just coming off Lyme? His endurance is pretty much back up to normal, but at the same time, he's still learning a lot. There's still a lot that he has to figure out within his game. I talked to him after the Battle for Bedford, and I was like, if you had a caddy who like knew your bag and knew what you threw, how much would that have improved you? He said 10 strokes.
Yeah.
He's like, because sometimes I just step up to a lie and I don't have the experience or knowledge yet to know which shot I should pick and execute. So I'm just kind of left to my own devices. And he's like, if I had someone telling me, no, throw this with like on this line, he's like, executing it's easy. I just don't know which disc to pick and stuff like that, which makes sense. I mean, he's been playing since January. None of us 7 months into this thing knew which disc to pick on which line.
No, yeah.
And that comes with experience. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on him being on lead card and kind of what's the angle / goal of it.
Yeah, so this is an interesting subject because, disc golf has to, as we get more exposure, these events we're starting to come out with could be big for how we kind of are showing ourselves as a sport,
Yeah.
How we're kind of putting ourselves out there. So if we want to present ourselves, in the best way positive, how do we balance that with obviously we're putting Brodie on these cards because we want more viewers. And
yes.
Right now, Brodie draws in viewers. So there's like a balance between, yes, we want a lot of viewers because we know people are drawn to watching Brodie play, and people are still probably curious to see how he plays. My big thing is, we don't want him to be on these feature cards if it's not really fair to him, because, nothing against him. Obviously, he's new to the sport, but you're going out there with the best players in the world. You don't want to go on a feature card coverage and see some guy shoot 15 strokes worse than the other three guys.
Yeah.
And just look out of place. That's not a good presentation of the pro tour. But at the same time, it's tough because when you're getting so many more viewers because of him, you have to cater to that to some degree. It's just going to be like finding that point where if it gets a little stale to where like, okay, everybody's kind of seen Brodie play, he'll still, maybe make a chase card, get on some film. But like, let's give the feature card to the guys that like are probably have the biggest shot of winning. Yeah.
I think the tough part is like, so when it comes to Brodie's sponsorship and everything,
yeah,
I've voiced my opinion.
It makes complete sense.
Exactly.
If we're just selling discs and things like that, like, he's got influence.
I've voiced my opinion on that multiple times.
Yeah.
People who say that he doesn't deserve his spot in the sport, he doesn't deserve his spot on Discraft's team, that's honestly just ignorance.
Yeah.
Because like a sponsored spot isn't just about your play. If it was just about your play, there'd be way more sponsored players than there are today.
Yeah, a sponsor.
It's about your play and your ability to move plastic.
Yeah, a sponsor wants to make money. That's why they're sponsoring you.
Yeah.
Because they think if this guy is carrying my product, it will sell more. And that's absolutely true.
Well, look at it from this standpoint. There's only been 2 players that have broken Discraft's website. There's been a number of drops on their website, and the only players that have broken it has been Paul Macbeth and Brodie Smith.
Yeah.
If that doesn't show you why he's sponsored, nothing will. Like the guy can move plastic.
Yeah.
Right? But that's where it makes sense for Discraft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Where it's the Pro Tour, the first round at Waco, perfect sense. The dude's first big tournament.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It makes perfect sense. But I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense too. Like, you're almost doing Brodie a disservice.
Yeah.
Because you're putting him in a position where he's going to feel like he's falling behind constantly, when realistically he's playing with the guys that there's a chance they're coming first, second, third.
Yeah, they're the best of the best right now.
And so Brodie's goal right now isn't to come first, second, third.
No.
And, yes, he wants to get there, but if I'm Brodie, I'm eyeing that like 20th place, like top 20. Because that if I had to put Brodie at like when he's playing great, where is his skill level right now? Honestly, it would be like 20th place.
Yeah,
like
he can shoot 1,000 rated golf.
Yeah.
We've already seen it. So like, it's
but
not
that's
like
the thing. Let's say he goes out and pops like a 10-20 rated round, like he did at DDO, 10-18. 10-18 rated round, first round. He's still going to be down most likely 5 or 6 to the card.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to, like, in his head, he's going to be like, oh man, that wasn't a great round. When if he would have just been put with the field, he'd have been building confidence, which he's probably very confident in general. I know from a fact he is, but I'm just saying the tournament confidence is a whole different ballgame.
Sure, yeah.
To be able to go out there and know I can perform. So if I was Brodie, if I was the Pro Tour, because Brodie will rise to the occasion. My first round, he's shooting over 1,000 rated is my prediction.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to embarrass himself out there. He's a completely different player than he was when he played at Waco. He has a lot more experience, but if I was the Pro Tour and I'm looking at this, I'm putting him on like third card.
Yeah.
I'm putting him on that like a Central Coast or Gatekeeper Media type of coverage where there's video coverage of him. We put the live card is like Paul, Calvin, Ricky, and Kevin Jones. Or Adam Hammis. He's been tearing it up. Someone like that where it's going to be competitive golf all around. It's still a super entertaining card. Yes, the viewership will not be the same.
Yeah.
I fully get that.
And I think it's probably really tough for them to say, let's go ahead and toss them on a Central Coast covered card when they know they probably are looking and seeing what their revenue looks like when Brodie's on their lead card, and it's probably significantly more.
So
it's probably hard to do.
Do you think that if this first round wasn't behind a paywall, would they make the same decision?
If it was going to be posted on YouTube.
Well, another thing is this even the Pro Tour's decision that's being made?
Or is it
just Discraft saying we want Brodie in front of more eyes within the disc golf world of him playing?
Yeah, that's...
Either way, all I'm saying is, and I don't know, I actually haven't talked to Brodie about being on feature cards. So I don't know how he feels about it. I'm sure he's probably stoked. But I just disagree with the decision personally. it's not that someone deserves it more. That's not the right word. The deserving it isn't the right word.
Yeah.
Because if anyone deserves to be on a card, it would be Brodie in the sense of how many eyes he can bring to the sport.
Yeah.
That side I get. But I think it's almost being a disservice to Brodie in, like we just talked about, the fact that he's not going to be competitive with that feature card.
Yeah.
And if he is, he's either playing way above what he's shown to be capable of playing, or the feature card isn't playing great.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he's not at that point yet. How fast he's progressed is insane. And so I think a year from today, we're having a completely different conversation. I think, a year from today, he might be a top 10, top 5 player because his drive's that insane. But in the current state of Brodie's play, in the current state of the Pro Tour, I think that his realistic goal should be like third, fourth card.
Yeah.
Which, if he started there and saw he was like him and 3 or 4 other like noticeable names, and he was on coverage still, I think that would be a much better place and a much better decision if it's the Discraft choice. If it's the Pro Tour choice, it's hard not to make the money decision.
Mm-hmm.
But, I know that's going to be a big talking point, and I know there's going to be a lot of people upset about it.
Well, sure.
What I'm always curious in or interested in is if I see a post on Instagram or whatever, and you might not be this way, but if I see it and I disagree with it, that's when I'm going to write a comment.
Yeah.
Personally. I'm never going to see a post unless it's something like you just got engaged. A post like that's like positive. First off, comment down below, congratulate him.
Thank you.
But a post like that's positive that you're like, oh, dude, congrats. That I'll comment on. But a post that just like makes me feel like neutral or like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like if I'm not going to comment on it unless it's like over the top. But then if it's a post of like something that sucks or I disagree with something, I'm going to comment on it. So part of me wonders, when we see decisions like this, when we see something with Brodie on feature card, or really when we see anything with Brodie in general in disc golf right now, how much, I don't think that the social media posts and stuff are really telling the true tide of disc golf currently.
No.
Because I think there's a lot more Brodie supporters and people who like want to see Brodie succeed and are like diehard Brodie fans, and there are people who are keyboard warriors saying how much it sucks.
The majority can be silent a lot of times, and there's like social media is a prime example of this, because like one of the big examples is like ESPN's accounts, right? We're seeing a lot of Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Tom Brady, those kind of names, and all you ever hear is people complaining. Oh, especially Tiger Woods, I hear this a lot. People complain, whenever Tiger's playing, it's all we see on the coverage. It's all ESPN posts about. Like, I just can't stand it. And there's a reason ESPN's doing that. It's because it generates the most clicks, the most views, the most money for them.
Yeah.
If the majority actually wanted something else, they would change it. These companies have to listen to what the majority says, because that's the way they're going to be the most successful. So yeah, I think that might be the case with the Brodie thing too. The people who are very outspoken might be the loudest, but they might not be the majority.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it was, I don't know. I thought it was interesting because I think the first time made a lot of sense. And I think the second time, first off, I think the second time will silence some of the haters, because some haters are still saying that Brodie sucks, which that isn't the case.
He's not bad.
So you'll see him play, and you'll, unless he has a bad round, he's probably going to put off something like 1,000+ rated.
Yeah. Which,
realistically, the majority of us, me included, like if I went out and played today, I'm not putting up 1,000 rated round.
No.
Have I before? Sure, but I was a heck of a lot a different player than I am right now. And I feel like that's like a normal disc golfer isn't shooting 1,000 rated.
Yeah.
If we were, there'd be the 1,000 rated wouldn't be 1,000 rated. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So I think that he'll silence some of it in just his play, but I do think from just like I don't know. I don't even know where my stance comes from. It might just be coming from like, I want to see Brodie succeed. And so that's why I'm like, it doesn't really make sense to put him here, because like from a Pro Tour standpoint, it makes sense. From a Discraft standpoint, it makes sense because you want the views, you want people to want to watch disc golf. And from a Discraft standpoint, and bringing more viewers with Brodie, you're bringing more viewers to Paul, your best player. So from that standpoint, it makes sense. From the Pro Tour standpoint, you're bringing more paid subscribers. So that makes sense. So I guess the only place it doesn't make sense is when I'm thinking about Brodie's play. And maybe Brodie looks at it a different way. Maybe he's looking at it as, I get to see where I'm at compared to the best of the best.
I do wonder that, like, in, when Pro Tour, whoever's meeting about this, if their kind of strategy is, okay, we're basically, we're going to do this a certain amount of times and then just stop, or if they're like, okay, we'll keep doing this until he's shooting consistently below 1,000 rated, then it makes really no sense. Then we'll take him off. Like, where's their breaking point for like, okay, no more Brodie on feature cards?
Yeah, I don't know. And they probably aren't even having that meeting. Yeah. They're probably just like, meh, who's gonna be on feature card this week?
Yeah, it looks good on the thumbnail. It looks really good.
Yeah. So I mean, outside of that, with D-Glow, let's look at some predictions. Who do you have taken? Let's go. You want to go top 3?
Sure.
Let's go top 3 each division, and then we're gonna do. We're gonna start this new segment called Dark Horse Pick of the Week, which first off, I think it's funny because it's titled Dark Horse, but I think it should be a rule we can't pick Brodie.
No, we're gonna say 980 or lower rated players.
Which Brodie still fits into that, correct?
Or is he 980 on the dot now?
972.
Okay, so he does. He could be our dark horse pick of the week.
But I think we should exclude him because
I'm not picking him. So
I wasn't planning on it either. But so, anyways, we're gonna go into that. So we'll pick our top 3 for each division, and then we'll pick the one player, man or woman, that we think might finish well above where they should based on the numbers next to their name that mean nothing.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So you want to pick your top 3 first?
Yeah. So MPO. So my top 3, I know like who my top 3 are.
You just got to pick the order?
Just got to pick the order, and it's tough. I'm all right. I'm giving the win to Calvin Heimberg.
You're giving the win to Calvin?
Yeah. I think this is the one where he finally breaks through. He has like 3 consecutive second places, and like I just think he's an animal, and I think this is the week where he finally gets it. He can bomb. He has controlled drives, so I think this course will fit his game just fine. Good wind player. We've seen him play well at Las Vegas and Memorial and such. So, yeah, I think Heimberg with the win. We'll say Paul in second. Probably really close, but we'll say Paul in second. And then I'm going to give Nico third, just coming off of the back of his win. I think momentum will play a part in that.
So our top 3 is kind of similar, but I'm going Paul with the win. I think he's won this event 2 years in a row. I think he might have even won it more than that, but I just think that with Discraft, this event, he just feels like at home. You know what I mean? It's just one of those events where he's there, Bob's there, all the Discraft guys are there. It's like I think he's just going to feel too good not to win this event. So
yeah,
I'm going Paul first, and then I'm going Ricky second. Ricky this past weekend, we didn't talk about it in the results, but this past weekend he played the Severin Lang Memorial, which was in A tier, and he took it down with some decently impressive golf. I think it would have been rated higher if some more bigger names were there. He beat Careless and Garrett Girthy. I always want to say Guthrie, and I don't know why. But anyways, Ricky went 1042, 1029, 1043. Again, that would have been a little bit higher had bigger names been there. But I just feel like he also won the Silver Cup, 2 weekends ago, and then 4th at DDO. He struggled a little bit preserved, but I feel like Ricky's getting back to the Ricky we've seen. And so,
which is great. I missed it.
To me, I'm saying Paul first, Ricky second. I was going to say Calvin Heimberg third, but thinking about this course more, do I want to do what I'm about to do? Or do I want to stick with him? Should I do it?
Yeah.
See, I'm going Kevin Jones. I'm going Kevin Jones third.
Respectable. He's been playing good golf.
He's been playing decent golf, but the reason I almost didn't want to is like he went 6th, 17th, 14th. He had a stretch of first places from May to June with Let's Get Back to Golf, the Rumble, Flex Start, the Rumble, and the Majestic. All wins. But then he went 6th, 17th, 14th at some of the bigger tournaments. Yeah. So I'm not feeling great about that pick, but I'm sticking with it. So we're going Paul, then Ricky, and then Kevin Jones rounding out my top 3.
Okay.
And then I'll go ahead and roll right into the Open Women. Paige Pierce is taking it down. That one's an easy one. I'm going Missy Gannon in second. She's been kind of tearing it up recently.
Yeah.
She has kind of had a pretty hot start to her year, or her second part of this year. And then third place, I'm going good old Katrina Allen. She always, her putting always keeps her from winning, but her throwing always gets her in the top 3.
Yeah.
And so I feel like she's as consistent as Paige when it comes to being off the tee, and I feel like her finishes are going to be pretty similar to that. So I'm going with Katrina Allen in third place. And again, if she could just figure out whatever happened to her putter, I think she would be pushing Paige again. But I
Very
don't see
relatable.
anyone.
Very relatable.
I don't see anyone beating Paige. She's also only 2 points outside of 990.
Yeah.
Which is where she's basically getting pretty close to being one stroke off 1,000 rated player.
Yeah, I think she'll be there at least by the end of next year. But my top two are the same. I think Paige Pierce wins easily. I think this course caters very well to her game.
Yeah.
And yeah, Missy Gannon's been on fire lately. I'll take her in second. And then third, I'm gonna go a little bit different here. I'm gonna go Haley King.
Oh, that's a good one.
Super talented player. I feel like has a pretty high ceiling. And
one of the best forehands on tour.
Yeah, very good forehand. I would sure trade for it.
People always say Sarah Hokum. Whenever I before have called Haley King the best forehand player on tour, and people always come after me because of Sarah Hoka and Jessica Weiss. But Haley King's forehand form
is very pure.
Tops both of them.
Yeah.
And so, yes, Sarah Hoka might have more control and more distance, but Haley King's form with a forehand is like the smoothest guy or girl, one of the like better forehand forms in the game.
Yeah.
Her distance isn't quite as good as like a Sarah Hokum is, but
yeah, I just think she's super talented, and I think this could be a breakout event for her.
All right, so let's go dark horse pick of the week for you. Who you picking? And we got to hear the rationale behind these picks.
All right, I'm making a bit of a homer pick here. I'm going with my boy Justin Rozak.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this is my my teammate at Liberty. For a semester.
I say oh boy, but really it's not a horrible pick.
Listen, Justin Rozak is for real, all right? We were all wondering it, and then he came to the Battle for Bedford this past weekend, looking as confident as always, and played really well, and could have been right in the thick of it. Tied for third. He's going to be playing a lot of tour events. So, yeah, I mean,
he went 1,001, 1,004 at the Battle for Bedford.
Yeah, his game is no joke. He's got good distance, can throw a lot of shots, just plays a lot of disc golf, and is getting good really fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad pick, but it's nowhere near as good as my pick.
Okay.
Which, first off, I need to preface this with an apology for how I'm about to pronounce the name, because I don't know how to. I've been following this guy on Instagram for a while.
Okay.
His Instagram, I believe, is Basket Case Disc Golf, which is a lot easier to say than his name.
Okay.
But Phil, I'm going to say it the way I want to say it, which is Phil Delon, but I think it's Phil Delonier.
Ooh.
So we're just calling him Phil.
It's a Michigan guy.
Yeah, he is from Michigan, Detroit area. But if you look at this guy's recent finishes, he played a lot during June and stuff, and pretty average golf. None of them were big tournaments, so it's hard to tell kind of what a 11th place at a B tier that could be last place. You never know.
Yeah.
But if we look at the Silver Series, he came in Silver Cup, 20th place.
It's respectable.
He's 963 rated, mind you. 20th place, but then the Jackson Open last week, which is a decently, a decent B tier. He went and came in second place, popping off a 1057 rated first round. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, nearly 1060 golf. You're not doing that unless you're a pretty legit player.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm just sticking with my gut here. As soon as we said that we were picking a player, this guy immediately came to my mind. Pretty sure he's sponsored by Discraft. I think he's on the Underground team, and I don't know. I could be completely off there, but 20th at the Silver Cup. I mean, that's no joke. And then second at a B tier the weekend after. I think he's feeling pretty hot coming into this event.
So I guess we'll say, whoever can shoot the most points above their rating for the tournament.
Do we want to do that or just who beats each other?
Well, I took a higher rated player.
I don't care about rating.
Okay, fine then.
Okay, if we're
fine,
gonna sit here,
you back to what you said.
If we're gonna sit here and say that the number next to a person's name doesn't matter,
you're
we
right.
gotta live up to this.
Hey,
the 963 right there, it means nothing.
I don't have a problem with this because I have the higher rated player.
It means nothing.
We'll find out.
I'm not worried about it.
We'll find
Phil,
out.
If you listen to this, I hope it pumps you up and you destroy Justin Rozak.
Justin, you better not lose.
Justin, you have a special place in my heart, but my boy Phil's coming for you, so I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I'm saying I think that's the whole point of this segment is ratings shouldn't matter. Like a 960 rated player shouldn't have come top 20 at, he tied Eric Oakley, beat Philo, beat Trevor Harbaugh, beat Chris Clemens, beat Noah Mintzma. You know what I mean? Like that should be a story. Beat Casey White, beat Bart, beat AJ Carey, Anthony Barella, Nate Perkins. Why does the 963 next to his name, which at that point was 968, that shouldn't define it? So I'm saying that when we do this segment, the points don't matter. Kind of like,
all right,
whose line is it anyways?
Okay.
Game is made up and the points don't matter.
All right.
But that's what I'm comfortable with it.
Okay. Sure. We'll see.
All right. Well, next week you're going to see Trevor balled up in a corner crying because of Justin Rozak's performance.
And Justin's putt we trust. Come on.
All right. So the final thing we wanted to do to kind of round this podcast out is we've done something similar before, but not quite the same. If you had to take your own game, and in the comments, join us in this game. If you're listening on audio, go over to our YouTube channel, Grip Locked Podcast, and join us in this game. But in the comments, basically what you're going to do is you're going to take 3 player attributes to add to your game. You've thought through this already.
Yes.
Because I can see your answers in front of me. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take it while I think about what my answers
Those
would
are
be.
not my answers. Those are examples.
Oh.
Yeah, think again.
Wow. Okay.
I was never going to give you my answers.
So you take your own game and what you're confident about in that, and then build attributes from 3 other players, add it to your game to make yourself as good of a disc golfer as you possibly can be.
Yeah.
Run with it.
Okay. So number 1, and these are kind of things I'm jealous of almost. I think that's kind of how I picked these subconsciously. I was like, I'm really jealous of these people's ability to do such things, and that's why I want them. So number 1, we're going with Simon's effortless distance. Not just his distance, because if we were going just distance, I might take Drew Gibson. But Drew Gibson looks like he's trying to throw hard.
That's
Simon
true.
Lizotte just like swings his arms through the air like a fairy, and the disc goes like 600 feet.
That's
He
valid.
doesn't have to try, and I envy that because I feel like I have to try so hard to throw like 300 feet that, it just takes away from the fun of the game sometimes when everybody else is throwing putters like they're not even trying. So I want his effortless distance. Number 2, I'm going to go with Michael Johansen's careless putt, his carefree putting. He just walks up there.
Are you picking this just based on how they look doing it?
The results speak for themselves. It's not just how they look. It works.
But if you're picking a putter, why are you picking MJ?
Because he's dirty. And he doesn't...
To a certain degree.
He doesn't even care.
But like the doesn't care part shouldn't matter.
No, it does to me because I care a lot. And I think if I cared less, it might be a game changer for me. That's the thing. Like, I'm a head case when I putt. So like if I had his attitude, I think, like, forget his ability, just the attitude. He walks up to his putts and just tosses that sucker at the basket like as if it doesn't matter ever. I want that. And number 3, I want James Conrad's hair.
What? You literally picked them all based on look.
Yeah. I just feel like I'm conceited now, but
Why like you wouldn't pick at someone's forehand?
no, because like it looks majestic, and he had a signature disc with his hair.
My
on
thing
it.
is if you if you have MJ's putting.
Maybe I want MJ's hair, to be honest, that ponytail.
Okay, if you have MJ's putting, Conrad's hair,
Yeah.
and Simon's
Effortless
distance, not his backhand form, just his effortless distance.
Yeah.
You're not on tour.
I don't care about being on tour.
But then no one knows who you are.
That's okay. That's never what this is about. This is just what I want.
I thought this was
I wasn't trying to get myself to be a world champion. I'd have been like Paul's backhand, Paul's forehand, Paul's putt.
I thought we were picking stuff to make us the best player we could possibly be.
It's just I just said the attributes that you would want to add to your game, and I just picked the ones I wanted.
Okay, I fully misunderstood this game.
So go ahead and take your stupid little Simon's or Eagles forehand. Like, I don't care.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, I know it was.
All right, well, I'll think through this. So, no, I'm gonna say the ones I have because I think that this is what would make me the happiest.
I mean, yeah, I can pick dumb things, and that's just who I am.
I was not expecting Conrad's hair.
I know.
I'm going Paul's frosted tips. I'm going.
Yeah,
no.
all right.
I'm going Paul's putting.
Nobody wants that.
Paul. Do I want Paul's putting? I'm going Paul's backhand.
Yeah.
Paul is an underrated backhand player, even though he's like one of the best in the world. I think people just like because he's so good at everything, they forget how dirty his backhand is.
Yeah.
Like if you're picking someone who you just want to throw a dead straight tunnel shot, you're not picking someone.
He throws
other than
the
Paul.
disc flat better than anybody else.
Yeah, which is why
He's just so hard
with
to
a
do.
buzz in his hand is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm going Paul's backhand because I think he has more control than 99.999% of the field
Sure.
with a backhand. I'm going Eagles forehand because to be able to have that distance forehand, I mean, it's insane.
It's ridiculous.
If I wanted to control or touch, I would probably go Germ but I don't want controller touch. I feel like if you...
I just want to throw far.
If you took... Like, I have decent enough touch that, like, I can get a forehand close to the basket. So if I had Eagles distanced on my forehand instead of throwing, like, 150-foot bombs...
Well, sure.
If I could throw like 450 to 500-foot forehands... Just
imagine watching that disc come out of your hand. It just wouldn't be...
Imagine your elbow when you're releasing that thing. Like, that would be so painful.
I have, like, no ligaments in my elbow already.
Yeah. And then my third one, I need someone's putting. I just have to rebuild my whole game, basically.
Yeah.
So I need someone's putting.
James Conrad's putting.
His outside the circle putting is ridiculous, but
insane.
I don't... My mental game, I have to keep my own mental game. It would not do good with a spin putt. So I can't go spin putt.
Okay. So
I've got to go... to be honest with you, this is a weird pick. Not really, but
I think I'm going high for that.
I think I'm going with Brodie's putt.
Interesting.
I feel like there's definitely better putters on the tour.
He doesn't have a jump putt yet.
But you see, I already suck at jump putts, and I feel like if I have Paul's backhand and Eagles forehand, how much am I going to need to jump putt?
Making an excellent point.
So, because if I'm outside the circle,
He's a good putter.
That's what I'm saying. Inside the circle,
I don't think I saw him miss inside the circle.
Inside the circle, he's a great putter.
Yeah,
and he has the same putting style that I like. Where I'm mental game wise, I'm probably thinking way too deep into this, but mental game wise, I would be terrified if I was a spin putter. So that wouldn't work for me. But if I'm outside the circle, I'll just throw Paul's backhand.
Sure.
Because that's going in 99% of the time. So who needs a jump putt if you have Paul's backhand? I'm still crying from the freaking James Conrad hair.
Thank you.
I literally haven't recovered yet.
James, send me one of those hair discs.
Send me a lock of your hair, please. Put it in the mail.
I'm not sure about that.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We do have some news, which we probably should have said this at the beginning. We're in our new headquarters. We still have a lot of upgrading to do. This wall setup is not what it's going to be. We're going to get the Grip Locked logo behind us. We're going to change up the whole podcast studio, to be honest with you. Hopefully you haven't been able to hear the echo around us. We have cardboard boxes stacked up to right here on both sides of us to try to dial that back. But we have foam on the way, which will help with that, and also just a rug to go down and some other stuff that will help the audio quality. But hopefully it wasn't bad. It's hard to tell what I'm hearing through the headphones and what I'm hearing because the rooms just echo.
Yeah.
So hopefully it was good for you all. We also, if you're a local and listen to us, we just added local pickup to our website now that we have a physical location. So when you're checking out, you can choose that to have free shipping, and then you can text the number on there to set up a time to come by and pick up your disc in your order. I think that's pretty much it. We just dropped the Blame the Tick stamp, and that was a big success. We didn't expect it to be as popular as it was, or we would have ordered more, but it was still great. And there's also, we just put a big time merch order in.
A lot of stuff coming.
Yeah, a lot of different apparel. If you're looking for apparel and you loved some of the Supreme Flight stuff we've done in the past, and we're doing some stuff we've never done before.
Yeah, keep an eye out for some new products.
Oh, not even just apparel.
Yeah,
we've got
think outside the box and you probably still wouldn't guess it. Yeah. But we've got some stuff we're really excited about.
And if this works, if this initial drop works, we have some huge things in the plans.
Yeah.
That I know our audience, you guys will love it. I think you'll love this first drop anyways. And if you're listening to this, I beg you, make this first drop so successful that we have no choice but to do the second option.
Yeah. Please.
So if you're at all curious what the second option is, you got to go with the first option first, because the second option it's a game changer.
Now we just sound like we're talking cryptically, but...
Well, we are to a certain degree, but it'll all make sense here about mid-August.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some cool stuff that we ordered, though, for sure. And I think you guys will like it all. So, yeah, if you haven't already and you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anything like that, go check us out on YouTube at Foundation Disc Golf or at Grip Locked Podcast. We post clips on Grip Locked Podcast regularly. You can also check out the links in our description, no matter where you're listening to or watching from, to our Discord, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And unless Trevor has something else,
that's all I got.
We'll talk to you guys next week.